You're not holding on to the past. It's holding on to you, afraid of who you'll be without it. You tell yourself it's over. You've packed the boxes, deleted the photos, given away the sweater that still smelled like then. The calendar has turned, friends have stopped asking, and you've learned how to speak about it in the calm, practiced tone of someone who's fine. But in the quiet, the echo returns. It never shouts. It murmurs, familiar and persuasive, "Remember me. Don't forget who you were when I was real." You notice it everywhere. In the taste of morning coffee that feels slightly emptier. In the way your phone still expects a message that isn't coming. In the hesitation before you open the curtains, as if daylight might expose what you've been pretending not to feel. The world goes on, and yet some part of you stays paused, replaying the last frame of a story that won't continue. You try to reason with yourself. You read articles about detachment, watch videos about healing, repeat the mantras that promise relief. You tell yourself pain is just resistance, that time will take care of what you can, and still, something deeper refuses to release its grip. The mind knows, but the body doesn't believe it. Your chest tightens when you remember. Your stomach sinks at the thought of being truly done. Because letting go isn't about the loss of something external. It's about the death of an identity. The self that existed inside that love, that role, that dream, still believes its survival depends on that old reflection. When it vanished, so did the outline that defined you. And now, faced with open space, the mind panics. It rushes to rebuild itself with memory, like a child gathering the shards of a broken mirror, desperate to keep seeing a face it recognizes. That's why logic fails. You can tell the story differently, interpret it kindly, bless it 100 ways, and still the pull returns. You aren't addicted to the past. You're addicted to familiarity. The ache you call grief is the self trying not to dissolve. But every attempt to hold on costs energy. You feel it as fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, a dull heaviness behind your eyes, a tension between breaths. The struggle to maintain what has already ended becomes its own quiet suffering. And beneath that exhaustion lies a truth you can sense, but haven't yet accepted. The part of you that's still fighting isn't being punished. It's being invited to end. Something in you already knows this. It's the reason you're listening now, because a small, courageous voice inside is ready to stop rehearsing and start seeing. It's whispering the question that begins every real transformation. If I'm not the one who keeps holding on, then who am I? The pull you feel isn't just emotion, it's architecture. Beneath the waves of memory lies an old design that keeps the self intact. The mind's first command has never changed. Stay the same. Consistency equals safety. Predictability equals survival. That's the hidden force, an invisible scaffolding built long before you learned words like grief or growth. Its job is to preserve the pattern. It doesn't care if the pattern hurts. It only cares that the pattern repeats. Pain is proof that the system is still online. Every thought you have runs through that system. Even loss becomes part of its maintenance. When the world changes, the force panics. It starts stitching together fragments of what was, trying to recreate the outline it knows. It whispers, remember how it felt, remember who you were, as if memory were oxygen. The mind obeys, rebuilding yesterday out of echoes, because silence feels too much like death. This is why logic can't set you free. You can understand everything, know that it's over, know that you deserve peace, and still feel the tug. You're not battling emotion. You're up against momentum. The mind has inertia. Once it begins orbiting a story, it keeps circling until something greater interrupts the motion. That interruption is awareness. The first time you watch a memory rise and realize you don't have to follow it, a fault line appears in the structure. The loop hesitates. You glimpse the machinery mid-turn, the thought that sparks the feeling that triggers the thought, the endless feedback of self-preservation. Seeing it breaks its spell. But awareness is dangerous to the old identity. The hidden force fights back with subtle weapons, nostalgia, guilt, the illusion of purpose. It will call itself devotion. It will call itself love. It will tell you that letting go means betrayal, that release is abandonment. Anything to keep you revolving around the same invisible center. Watch closely and you'll see how precise it is. One scent, one lyric, one photograph, instant activation. The force uses the familiar as bait. It doesn't need to convince you to go back. It only needs to keep you remembering. Remembering keeps you rehearsing, and rehearsal keeps the story alive. Yet something has changed. You're starting to notice the pattern faster. You can feel the moment the hook appears and the space that opens when you don't bite. That tiny gap is freedom's first breath. The force loses power every time you choose not to participate. And in that pause, a question emerges. If the mind can manufacture identity through repetition, what happens when the repetition stops? The answer terrifies the old self, but draws the new one closer. Because underneath all the noise, there's a deeper intelligence waiting, one that doesn't survive by control, but by surrender. What happens when you don't interrupt the force? When you keep orbiting the same story because standing still feels safer than stepping into space? The answer doesn't come as catastrophe. It comes quietly, like dust gathering on a surface you stop noticing. The past begins to colonize the present. At first, it's invisible, a hesitation before joy, a dull ache where excitement should live. Then it spreads. Every new experience passes through the filter of what used to be. The meal tastes almost as good as that other one. The new love feels almost right. You start measuring life by comparison instead of presence. This is the hidden tax of attachment. The force doesn't just hold memories, it drains vitality. You wake each morning already tired, carrying an invisible weight that grows heavier the longer you pretend it isn't there. You move through the world in half-light, as if watching your own life from behind glass. Holding on masquerades as devotion, I'll never forget. I'll honor what was. But devotion built on fear becomes self-betrayal. You aren't honoring the past. You're protecting the identity that formed around it. The force feeds on that protection, using it to keep its circuits alive. Each thought of what if or if only is another spark of electricity for an illusion that should have gone dark long ago. Sometimes you see this decay in others before you see it in yourself. The friend who still introduces themselves by their heartbreak. The parent who can't enjoy their grown children because they're busy grieving the years that are gone. The artist who repeats their first success endlessly, afraid to evolve. Their pain becomes a monument to what used to define them. The monument looks noble from afar, but up close you can see the cracks, the life that stopped flowing underneath. And maybe, quietly, you recognize the same cracks in yourself. You see how much of your energy goes into keeping old feelings relevant. You see how the world around you keeps changing, yet your inner landscape stays the same. It's a haunting realization. You've built a home in a memory, and the rent is your aliveness. But even this recognition is mercy, because once you truly see the cost, the spell begins to weaken. Awareness doesn't destroy the force immediately, but it stops feeding it. You start to sense how small it really is compared to the life that's waiting beyond it. The truth is simple, and it stings. What you don't release becomes the cage you live in. And that cage doesn't protect you from loss. It ensures you never experience renewal. You can feel that understanding rising now, the uneasy mix of fear and relief that signals transformation. Something inside you whispers, I can't keep doing this. That whisper is grace. It's the first crack of light breaking through the architecture of holding. And through that crack, the next stage begins. The one the mind fears most, but the heart has been longing for, surrender. There comes a moment when the hidden force begins to tire. The machinery has been running for so long that even it starts to lose conviction. You feel it one ordinary day when the same thought that once pierced you now lands without weight. The story tries to start, but it sputters. The pain arrives on schedule but dissolves mid-sentence, as if it too is ready to rest. The mind doesn't like this softness. It senses the end of its empire. It panics in subtle ways by manufacturing urgency, guilt, sudden purpose. Don't stop thinking, it says. If you stop, you'll disappear, but you don't disappear, you breathe. And in that breath, you discover something radical. Nothing collapses when you stop controlling it. Still, surrender rarely feels like serenity at first. It feels like loss of gravity. The old structure crumbles beneath you, and there's a split second where you believe you're falling. Every reflex shouts to grab onto something, an explanation, a person, a plan, but there's nothing to grab. Only air, only now. Then something strange happens. The fall becomes flight. The space that terrified you begins to hold you. The same awareness that once watched the force pulling you now becomes the ground beneath you. You realize you were never falling through nothingness. You were falling into reality, into what's been here the whole time. The body knows before the mind does. Your shoulders loosen, breath deepens, heartbeat steadies. Muscles that have been braced for years start remembering what safety feels like. It's not the safety of certainty. It's the safety of truth, unmoving, quiet, vast. The mind still tries to return. It tests the silence with tiny provocations, a memory, a name, an unfinished question. Each time, you watch the bait drift by and feel no need to chase it. The watcher and the watched are no longer the same. The old identity keeps performing its familiar tricks, but the audience has left the theater. This is surrender, not resignation, not defeat, but the sacred exhaustion that comes when illusion runs out of fuel. You stop being the one who manages and become the one who witnesses. You realize control was never power, awareness was. And in that awareness, compassion arises. You look at the mind not as an enemy, but as a frightened child, clutching its stories because it never knew what existed beyond them. You forgive it. You thank it for trying to keep you safe, and in that forgiveness, it finally relaxes. The force that once ruled you now drifts like smoke. You can still sense its outline, but not its grip. What remains is space, uncluttered, luminous, unbound. You don't have to do anything to keep it. The moment you stop holding, it holds you. This is the threshold, the silent crossing from effort into ease, from seeking into seeing. The war inside you ends, not in victory, but in understanding. And the peace that follows doesn't need to be protected. It simply is. At first, the quiet feels unreal. You wait for the next wave of thought, the next aftershock of memory, but it doesn't come. The room is ordinary, the hum of the refrigerator, the soft creak of the chair beneath you, the steady rhythm of your breath. Yet everything hums with new clarity, as though life has been freshly unwrapped. You realize how long you've been living on the defensive. Every smile slightly armored, every silence filled too quickly. Now there's space, raw, bright, unguarded. The mind searches for something to manage and finds nothing. That nothing feels terrifying for a moment, then merciful. Stillness is an absence. It's density, it's reality, concentrated. Sounds arrive sharper, colors cleaner, sensations pure. Even pain, when it visits, feels honest rather than punishing. You begin to understand that peace was never the opposite of chaos. It was what remained when you stopped naming everything as either. You move differently now. You walk slower, but not from caution, from presence. You look people in the eye and see them as they are, not as characters in your old story. When grief stirs, you let it. When joy comes, you don't clutch it. Every emotion becomes weather, passing, meaningful precisely because it moves. Occasionally, the mind still tests the locks. A stray memory slips in, a whisper that asks, "What if it happens again?" You smile. You know it will, and that's fine. Nothing permanent needs protecting. The force that once imprisoned you now works for you. It reminds you to stay awake. Freedom feels quiet, but not empty. It's the soft hum beneath all things. It's being at home inside your own breath. You see now that letting go was never about losing. It was about remembering what could never be lost. The love that felt gone still moves through you, purified of possession. The meaning that seemed destroyed was simply freed from form. Sometimes you think of the version of yourself who fought so hard to arrive here, the one who cried, bargained, begged for understanding. You send them gratitude. Their resistance was devotion in disguise. It kept you on the path long enough to find this silence, and the silence isn't fragile, it's generous. It holds everything, the heartbreak, the hope, the ordinariness of tomorrow. You finally see that nothing real asks you to grip it. What's real only asks to be seen. So if these words met you where you needed them, take a moment. Don't rush to the next thing. Let the stillness expand until you can feel it inside your ribs, steady and alive. That's the truth you were searching for, and it was here all along. If you want to keep walking through spaces like this, stay close. Subscribe, share, send this to someone still tangled in their own gravity. Not for numbers, but for connection, because light spreads by recognition. One heart loosens, another follows. You were never the one holding on. You were the one being held by life itself. And now, finally, life has room to hold you completely.